A video where I was responding to a question of how do you deal with your breastfeeding child biting you. I got this question. If you want to watch that whole video, go back and do it. I have 4 children. They are now ages 22, 20, 17, and 14. And I spent almost 12 years of my life pregnant and or breastfeeding or both. So I have a lot of lay experience in that area. Anyway, I got this question. Does anyone have recommended resources for more parenting advice like this, but for children under 5? My child is 1 year old. I've enjoyed Angela's parenting content, but a lot of it is focused on older children. That's definitely true. One of my favorite parenting experts on TikTok is Indomitable Black Man, and you should check out his account. Loads and loads of good parenting advice from him. A+, do recommend. So first off, if you have any specific scenarios here that you think maybe I might be able to help you address, please feel free to leave them in the comments. A lot of the things I do discuss about parenting are for kids that are a little bit older, but I think the overall philosophy of our parenting might still be helpful for you. So we're non-authoritarian parents. I don't use any punitive measures. We don't do grounding, we don't do timeouts, we don't do punishments, we don't take away our kids' toys. And there's definitely no spanking. We respect our kids' bodily autonomy. Trying to parent without coercion and without punishment in American society is really challenging. Evangelical beliefs about parenting, authoritarian parenting, really has infiltrated so much of our popular consciousness, and it's very hard to escape it. For me, I was raised with very strict kind of German style parenting. I would say excessively authoritarian. And that's a large part of the reason why I decided I'm gonna do the opposite and see how that goes. And joining La Leche League and joining my local attachment parenting group, and then doing a whole lot of reading, making friendships with mothers who were older than me who also had raised their kids without punishment and asking for advice. My La Leche League leader was absolutely invaluable. Her children were quite a bit older than mine, maybe a decade older. I recognize my level of privilege to live in a part of the country where I had a community of folks who parented and modeled that parenting for me, right? So much about breastfeeding and non-coercive parenting, having really authentic, respectful relationships with your kids is so foreign to us because it's not how we were raised. And we don't see a lot of people modeling it in the culture, definitely not in literature or in media, and definitely not in our churches and not while we're out and about in society. So a couple of things were really helpful for me when my kids were very little. Number one was learning about child development. Learning how very small children actually think and perceive the world, how they actually explore and learn, what their motivations are. Kids are learning how to be human beings for the first time ever. They're learning to interact with the world and other people for the first time ever. And yet we superimpose adult motivations and thinking onto their very young, immature brains that are going through rapid development, while their bodies are also going through rapid development. There's this series of books that's like your 1 year old, your 2 year old, your 3 year old, all the way up. Those were very helpful for me. And understanding that kids go through phases of equilibrium and disequilibrium when kids are getting ready to grow, they're getting ready to cut new teeth, they're getting ready to learn to think in a different way, they're expanding their vocabulary. We often see behavioral issues as children enter this period of growth and they're in disequilibrium, right? They are in the process of changing. Gaining all of that knowledge was so helpful for me. I think that we can forget that good parenting requires a significant depth of knowledge and a large set of skills. To be a good parent is absolutely to be a professional. It's absolutely to be an expert. Not that I don't make mistakes, and I'm sure my kids will get on here. They have in the past gotten on my YouTube and talked about what it was like to grow up in this household, right? My adult kids have anyway. Punitive, authoritarian styles of parenting very much come from Christendom. I'm sure from other religious traditions as well. But this idea that children are inherently sinful, they're naughty, children are willful and disobedient, and they must be made to obey their parents. Children, obey your parents as unto the Lord. The whole spare the rod, spoil the child, which justifies a lot of evangelical parents using implements to abuse their children's bodies. And like just an absolute ignorance for child development. And again, ascribing adult motivations to childlike actions, ascribing intent that has never ever been there in that child's mind to little kids, right? Perceiving children's actions as naughty, as inherently evil and disobedient, and seeing children as being willful and that it's a good thing to break a child's will. All of that is like, it's so common in our society. We expect 1-year-olds to understand cause and effect when they simply cannot. Take our baggage and some evangelical worldview and put it on little kids, and that does them tremendous harm. Like the example I gave in this video is that when you're breastfeeding your child and they bite you, they're not being mean, they're not trying to hurt you, they're not being malicious, they're just exploring, or they're trying to soothe because they have, gums that are very sore because they're teething. They're not being naughty, they don't deserve a punishment. For me, parenting young children and parenting my kids all the way into adulthood has really pivoted around this idea that it's not my job to punish my children, that coercion and punishment is antithetical to learning. It harms children's brains, it harms their relationship with their parents, it makes it more difficult for them to learn. My goal has always been to raise capable human beings who can run their own lives, know their own mind, and enjoy their lives. So yeah, learning child development helps me understand young children better, helps me understand their motivations better. Chucking the evangelical concept of children are sinful out the door, chucking the entire concept of obedience out the door. That has been crucially important to me in my parenting. My kids can argue with me, they can question me. I don't expect obedience from them at all. I could say to a very young child, it's time to go. And that kid could say, no. I'd say, okay, well, how many more minutes do you need until we're ready to go? And they'd be like, 27. And I'd say, let's pick a number less than 3. And they'd say, okay, 2. And I'd say, okay, let's set a timer for 2 minutes and then we'll be ready to go. Right? With a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, that works fantastically well. It doesn't have to be a battle of wills. You can just negotiate. You can teach little children how to negotiate, how to advocate for themselves in their position, respecting children's autonomy, respecting that they are fully human. They are just humans going through a rapid phase of development and are experiencing things for the first time. So they need our support, our guidance, our mentoring, but they're not disobedient. They're not naughty. They're learning how to function. So it's our job to model that for them. So if my 1-year-old is climbing up onto the dining room table and I don't want them up there because I'm worried that they'll fall, or I don't want their dirty feet on the table or whatever, I don't say, get down. If I'm in a hurry, I might say, feet on the ground, and pick them up and put them down on the ground. That's it. Doesn't need to be an argument. Or if I'm willing to take a little bit longer, I'll be like, let's put our feet on the ground. How do we get back down? And help them figure out how to climb back down off the table, because I know that a 1-year-old is going to do that again. They don't have the impulse control. They don't understand cause and effect. And if they're able to get up on a table, I want to help them learn how to get back down off of it again. That takes more time, that takes more work, but I'm not setting up conflict. I'm not setting up an adversarial relationship with my child. Also, too, even with really, really little kids, from day one, how can you think about gamifying everything? I said this in a video a long time ago, but one of my goals as a parent is how can I turn my no into a yes? If I was raised to just be like, no, you can't do that. I want to ask myself, why is it that I'm saying no? Do I really have to say no when my kid wants to do this thing or ask this question? How can I turn my no into a yes? And then also, anytime I have an interaction that looks like it's going to be about butting heads, that it's going to become a battle of wills, how can I turn that into a game? How can I make it silly? How can I make it fun? Children learn through play, so how can I gamify things? How can I make everything play, right? That is the vehicle through which children learn how to experience reality, how to interact with other people, how to understand their world. Yeah, that takes more effort. It takes more mental bandwidth, and it takes skills and modeling that we might not have been exposed to. And that sucks. Parents in American society are really, really unsupported. We don't treat parenting as a skilled vocation, and so we don't equip folks with the skills to do it. And unfortunately, you have to go seek those out. You have to find community. You have to find people who are parenting the same way. And you have to have a lot of grace for yourself when you mess up. I know for me, it was really hard early on not to fall back into the parenting patterns that I was raised with and that I saw demonstrated in my church. My strategy was always, I'm just going to do the opposite. Whatever the thing is that I think is hurtful and harmful, and I didn't like it when that thing was done to me as a child, I'm just going to do something different. I realize I just threw a whole bunch of stuff at you and no specifics really whatsoever, but how can you turn your no into a yes? How can you gamify a situation? How can you build your skills and knowledge around child development? How is it that you can take things that would otherwise be a battle of wills and say, I want to make this fun. I want to make this play. I want to make this something that strengthens my relationship with my child and helps them understand the world around them better. I'm happy to answer endless questions on this subject. I loved parenting little kids. It was exhausting, but I really loved it. I wish that it didn't have to be such a difficult time for so many moms, and I wish that more folks could be better supported. So thanks for your question. Hit me with some more anytime.